cosplay, right? Buy random things and use them for something completely different. I feel like a frilled neck lizard. I made too many rocks. Yay! Hi Kiralee. Thank you for submitting your PAX Australia 2023 Cosplay Central Crown Championships application. We understand that it can be challenging to put together a cosplay, so we always appreciate the effort that goes into doing so. The blood, sweat, and of course the many, many tears. With all that being said, we are excited to let you know your cosplay has been accepted for the Cosplay Central Crown Championships. That's right, surprise, Toph is in the championships. Ah! I got this email yesterday and I am beyond happy. The truth is that I have been making Toph with the sole purpose of entering her into Crown Championships because I really wanted to test myself. That's the truth. I'm normally a skit-based cosplayer. I am a character-driven cosplayer and I love Toph. I love this design, but it's gonna be hard to do a skit with her. So that's why I decided to make her for Crown. Now I want to give a shout out to everyone who entered because I believe that there were lots of people and there was a lot of people who didn't get in, and I know some of their work and they're amazing. So I feel truly, truly honored and humbled that Toph got in. With that being said, I know I said that making Toph was a 6-part series. This is the 7th part. You see, Toph is all ready to go with her cosplay, wig, and also her hairpiece, but she doesn't have her weapon. Well, Toph doesn't have a sword or a shield or anything like that. No, she's got rocks. I have been contemplating since before I even started this cosplay how I could in fact make her prop, because like I said, I was making her with the intention of putting her into this competition, and I wanted to make sure that I had something that was, wow, that's cool. But what I don't want is I don't want to have some sort of rocks on strings that I like twirl around. Not that there's anything wrong with that, and I did contemplate it. But the way that I see it, having like poise, they are better for the other elements, the wind, or rather air, fire, and water, because they are liquid or gas states. Rocks are the only kind of bending that deals with like physical form. Whizzing them around me didn't really feel right, and I don't think it would look that impressive on stage. So I thought, okay, how can I up the ante? And that's when I thought, okay then, let's make rocks that hover around my body that I can manipulate and somehow take it all off. I'm gonna make a peacock tail / skirt. And I actually did this, which is the mock-up of said skirt, before I even started this cosplay. Because like I said, I was making this cosplay for the Crown Championships and I was really excited by this idea. So the idea behind it is that you have a structure that is non-stretch and it is fully supported by some rods and it ties around your waist. Here is the mock-up in action, so you can kind of see what I was going for. Except I realized that, you know, metal from like just hat wire, not strong enough. Not strong enough. Wasn't gonna use it anyway, but not strong enough. But this thing gave me enough information to work on about what I needed to do, at least for the base structure. Now, I would love to say that this idea came to me in like a fever dream, but it didn't, and I do need to give credit where credit is due. This is not the first time that something like this has been created. There has been amazing cosplayers who've done a similar type of prop / costume built into their costume, or something that is removable. And I especially want to give a massive shout out to Lulu Rush Cosplay, who is one of my amazing patrons. She recently did an amazing Alolan Ninetales in the style of a Las Vegas showgirl. and she employed this type of strategy for the tails. She looked incredible, they looked incredible. I asked her so many questions and she graciously gave me all the information that she had. And with that, that's how I created this mock-up. I've never seen this in person, so I am excited to create it and incorporate it into my cosplay and hopefully make people happy. I don't believe there's any extra points this year for like stage presence or presentation, but look, I'm a performer-based cosplayer. I just want to get on stage and give the audience a good show, you know? So that is what this is all about. Let's put this down and I'll show you some of the materials I've got. So let's start off with the base structure because that's what I'm going to work on first. I'll do the rocks after the base structure has been completed. So the idea behind the base structure is it needs to be as see-through as possible. And I thought about a whole lot of different fabrics that I could use. I thought, maybe I'll use clear plastic. And then I thought, well, no, because if the light hits, it's going to shine off it and you're going to see that it's plastic. And you know, I'm going to be on stage, so absolutely it will look like I've got like a window and there's going to be rocks there. And I thought, yeah, no, that's a no-go. Then I thought, well, maybe I could use some like chiffon or organza, like a see-through material. And then I thought, no, because you will still be able to see the fabric. And then I thought, okay, well, what else can I use that's going to be stiff but quite see-through? And then I thought, tulle. So with tulle, it is mostly non-stretch and it is quite hardy and is used in petticoats and, you know, stiffening. And if you use one layer, it's quite see-through. It also doesn't have a grain line as such, so it's not going to fray. And it also is something that your eye doesn't have, it can't see like a pattern as such. And I decided to get brown as the color rather than green because I feel like the brown works in with the pants, because the idea is that it's going to be from the waist down, and like even with that over the top as a single layer, it's not too noticeable. The reason why brown over green again is because I thought, well, if I'm going to be on stage, most likely the backing is going to be black. And when I was holding up the green tulle versus the brown tulle, the green tulle on the black was very noticeable, where the brown was not. So this was the happy medium, and there is only going to be one layer of it. Yeah, I hope it works. It does have a little bit of a stretch, but I think it's going to be okay, because at the end of the day, with this, it is going to be one large piece. So there's nothing that's going to be pulling or ripping. It's going to be quite supported. Plus, it's going to have supports and also rocks. But let's first talk about the supports. Once again, I want it to be see-through. So I ended up buying a whole lot of these acrylic rods. So these are the type of acrylic rods that you use to close curtains. Yeah, that's right. Cosplay, right? Buy random things and use them for something completely different. But these are see-through acrylic rods. I think they're about 8 mil and they're very sturdy. So they've got a little bit of bend to it, which is what I want. I want to be able to slightly bend it, but not have it like fold onto me, which is what the wire did. Now I am about to start doing the work, but before I do, the one other thing I just want to say is that I have got 2 different sizes. So there are 9 struts that I'm going to be putting onto this kind of tail because it needs to like flip up. And what I found with my mock-up is that the 1 meter looks great on the sides, but it looks a little bit short up the top, and I'm going to be putting rocks up the top anyway. But at Homecraft, where I went and I got these wonderful rods from, because Spotlight only had them up to 1 meter, they had 1.25. Now, the rules of championships is that you can't exceed 2.5 in any direction, which means that the sides really can't be more than 1 meter each, just to account for the fact that my body's in the middle. I'm not half a meter in the middle, but I'd rather just, you know, give it the space and not be disqualified on something as minute as that. However, the top from my waist up, it's not 2.5 meters, I can tell you that right now. So I am going to put this along with the struts either side as 1.25 and then taper it down to 1 meter on the sides. So it will give a really cool shape. It's gonna go quite high. I'm quite excited for it. However, it does mean that because I am very short and I am essentially almost barefoot in this cosplay, the 1.25 on my waist does not like go through the floor. Like I'm holding it on the floor, my waist is past where the lens is and you can see the top. It's coming up past like my like breast area. So yeah, I'm going to have to be holding the skirt out when I'm wearing it. But that is why it's removable, so that I can walk around the con floor. So I'm rethinking my plan. I have just tried to cut off the metal using my normal like kind of tool that I use to like cut my steel boning and stuff, and it's not going through. So I think that I need to actually go and get some bolt cutters because I don't think I'm getting through this, at least not 9 of them. Yeah, good times. Like look, you can see it's hardly done any damage to it, like it's holding on. That's annoying. All right, let's make the base. All right, update, I got one, 8 more to do. Maybe I don't need bolt cutters. Let's go. I am woman, hear me roar. Gotcha. I've done 4, but like I'm starting to bruise myself. So I think I'll do this in stages and I think I'll come back and do the rest of these. But ow, they hurt. I have just finished sewing all of the channels. Well, pinning and then sewing the channels. And I have just put in the rods. I haven't sewn up the tops or anything because honestly I think that what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand sew up the very tops to when it's time to keep these in position, just to make this easier to travel with, because she needs to go over to Melbourne with me and we need to do, you know, oversized luggage. But ta-da! Obviously it's going the wrong way at the moment, but yes, you can see this is where we are up to. I'm very happy with this. It's not fully see-through, but it is pretty darn close and you can't really see the channels too much. I mean, it's clear that they are a little bit darker than you know, the parts that don't have obviously a double layer of tulle. I've done these just like you would if you were doing a corset or a bodice and you were putting boning channels in. Is the exact same method that I use. I did it with tulle. So yeah, that's where we're up to. Here's the structure. The only thing I will say is that because of the fact that I have chosen to do the larger struts in the middle, the 1.25 meters rather than 1 meters as per my mock-up, it does mean that I've had to sacrifice a little bit of the kind of additional curve that I had with my mock-up, because simply it didn't allow me, the fabric was only 1.5 meters wide and I had to do that which the fabric would allow me to do, because I did think about adding like a section up the top, but then I figured you will really see that line, that sew line, just where the connection would be. And I was thinking, oh, well, I could make like a big rock and put that on top. But then I thought, you know what? No, it's fine. It's gonna be fine. I know that with the tulle and the weights, because I am going to have to put weights onto the edge of the bottom on the sides to help balance it. I know that with the weights, it will stretch a little bit. So it's gonna be, it's still gonna be a little bit more than just over halfway, but also I'm not too fussed, to be honest. If it's only halfway, it's only halfway. Like if it's just a semicircle, that is what it is. Like there is no strict rule about this one. This is purely because there are rocks surrounding her in the reference image, and I want to create that aesthetic. So I'm taking artistic license here, all right? Okay, so the next thing I need to do is take out all of the acrylic rods again, because I need to sew on the waistband. I need to make the waistband and I need to sew that on, and that is going to be, like I mentioned before, the green that is going around there is just going to be a fair bit thicker than that. And I think that I'm going to support it with some Petersham tape that I've got. So yeah, I think I'll do that. I'm going to sit and contemplate this before I proceed. So I have created the waistband and I'll put the little bow on front, very similar to how I did the bow on the corset. However, this is obviously a fair bit thicker because it's got the Petersham tape on there. At the moment it's feeling a little bit loose, but on top of all the layers of the costume, it should be quite tight and quite taut. So yeah, if it needs to be changed, it's actually quite easy to change because it's just a hook and bar that I've sewn by hand. So let me show you the tail as the base. So the base is pretty much complete. I just need to reinforce the edges, as I had found out the tulle can break quite easily. So I'm going to reinforce the edges by doing some zigzag stitches just over the top of that, but the channels themselves are absolutely fine. So let me grab this. Of course I'm gonna have strings as well, and hopefully I can make this happen. There we go. So there she is, the base. So you can see that I have it hanging down just a little bit past like what a normal circle skirt would have done. So I'm very happy about that. She goes very high, she's not all in frame, she's basically touching the roof and I'm doing squats. But yes, she's see-through pretty much, which makes me very happy. And now it's time to figure out the rocks. So, woohoo! Look at that base. Oh my goodness me. So yes, I'm very happy. That's a bit more comfortable there. I feel like a frill neck lizard. Yeah. maybe this could be like what I could do for like Priscilla Queen of the Desert if I was ever to do something from Priscilla Queen of the Desert. Frill neck lizard dress. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna stop bouncing around in this, but I am really happy with how the acrylic rods are holding the shape really nicely. It does do like, the shape is kind of like woo, woo, woo. So that's fun, but with the rocks, you won't really notice it as much, I'm hoping. But yes, I'm gonna reinforce the edges, and then it is on to figuring out the rocks. Good morning. So it's the next day, and last night in front of TV, I made some rocks, or at least I made some prototypes of some rocks. So I made two different types, and let me run you through the first type and the second type. The first type I am not going to use, but it's a really good idea. So this is upholstery foam. So this is what was left over from when I was doing the bun in my wig for this cosplay. And essentially I just tore pieces off like a piece and create this really cool texture. So this is how they make prop rocks for like TV shows and that sort of thing. Essentially upholstery foam, you then hit it with some Plastidip or something similar, and then you paint it up. It's very easy, very lightweight, squishy, so that way it doesn't hurt any actors if the rock falls on them or whatever. So there's that. The problem is that although the texture is really, really good and will look like a rock, absolutely, it doesn't look like the rocks in the reference image. The rocks in the reference image are very smooth with very sharp edges. And unfortunately, this just has a lot of like indentations and like harsh edges, but like it's all like mix and match. So unfortunately, this would be the easier option. I'm not going with this. Instead, what I'm going to do is I have these type of things. So here I have a few different prototypes that I made last night, which are essentially pieces that are stuck together, random shapes, with some very sharp edges. And so it's flat and then sharp. So these look more like the reference images, though I am still obviously working on them. I have small to medium, and then I've got one large one. So what I need to do now is I do need to make like a one size that is smaller than this, because this and this are, obviously there's a bit of size difference between the two. Oh my gosh, this is jumping out of my hands. And so I want to make at least one that is in between here. The thing is that I want to, and maybe one more of these. So one more of these, two of like the medium size, and then I think we're gonna be pretty good to go. The thing is that I'm gonna cut out probably about 3 of each of the shapes that I end up going with, and then gluing them together. The reason being is that depending on where you cut them and how you stick them, they will look like different types of rocks rather than just like all the same. So for example, this one, although it's got like a big flat edge, if you turn that and then you cut it here, then you've got a rock that looks differently when you're placing it on the base. I don't know if I mentioned this before. So the idea that I've got for this, sorry, all over the place, is that I want the rocks to not just be on one side of the base. I actually want the rocks to be going through the base. So that way it looks like, you know, depending on wherever you are and however I move the base, because it's see-through, the rocks will be essentially protruding through them. So your eye will hopefully trick you into thinking that the rocks are hovering pretty much by themselves. That's what I'm hoping for. But yes, so the idea is that I'm going to cut them in different places and stick them in different ways so that they look like different rocks. But I'll probably use like this template and cut it out 3 times, and that will be that. So I do need I'll probably need at least another large rock sort of thing, because I want a decent amount of large rocks on there, but I do want some medium rocks, and like these rocks are good as well, but I think that, yeah, I don't need any more of that size. I think I need a little bit bigger. So there's a lot of space to fill. So fingers crossed, right? All right, I will check back in with you once I figured out which rocks I am going to do and what they look like. Wish me luck, because this is not my area of expertise, clearly. That's what cosplay is. Figuring it out as you go. It's later in the day, it's got really cold, so I've got my hoodie on, and I have done a total of 11 different rocks. So let me show you, they're all in different sizes, all different shapes, and I think that these are going to be the best prototype. So essentially I've got 11 here. I guess I'm aiming for about 33 rocks, and hopefully that's enough. We shall see. If not, I can always make more, but let me show you what I've got. So here they are, all the different sizes. So, you know, we've got the small ones over here, and then we've got the kind of small, medium to large. So yeah, funnily enough, it does get quite hard to try and create these shapes, and they do look a little bit triangular, some of them, but also depending on which way you kind of, you know, cut them and put them through, it will change kind of how they look, I think. So fingers crossed. I might actually cut this one down slightly. It's reading a little bit tentish to me, so I might do that. But yeah, pretty happy with this. It means I can start cutting out these on the foam. So got to label them all up and figure out how pieces go together and make sure I record that. Otherwise it's a puzzle without instructions, and that does not sound fun. Also, these took a whole lot longer than I expected them to take. So I'm really concerned about how long they're going to take to make out of foam. Anyway, I better number these up. It's late at night. I literally have changed like outfits like 3 times, so I've been in like 3 different pajamas today. But look, it's a rock. So this is the biggest one that I've cut out of the 7mm dense EVA foam. You can hear it's like, she's thick. Well, she's strong. So I will need to glue together with contact cement and then do a whole lot of filling and dremeling, because there's a whole lot of like bits and pieces that don't quite fit up. But I was expecting that because paper pattern versus foam, you know, you have to account for these things. But it's fine because it's a rock and rocks have imperfections. And we're going to Dremel it and we're going to like fill it as much as possible to create as smooth as we can. But also if there's imperfections, it's a rock. So this is where I think I'm going to stop for tonight because I am quite tired. But I have a little bit of a better idea now of how much of this foam I'm going to need, because doing one of these used up about 1/5 of one of the sheets. This is the biggest one, like I mentioned, but I wanted to kind of figure out how much I'm going to need of this foam, and I think I'm going to need between 2 and 3 sheets, and that gets expensive because each sheet is about $40 because it's really good foam. It's very sturdy. So what I'm thinking is that for the big ones, because they need the structural integrity of the harder foam, I'm going to use the 7mm. But I think for the smaller ones, I think I'm going to try out just regular 5mm foam. Good morning, it is now time for rock day to commence. I did pick up some popsicle sticks. So I've got 80 popsicle sticks, I've got my contact cement. So I am going to cut out all the big rocks this morning, and hopefully then I'll be able to start gluing them. I have moved Toph from the corner. She's now in another room away from all of this, because it's going to get quite messy, I believe. And I think I'm going to move my sewing machine as well, so that way I've got more space, but also, you know, I'm not going to destroy my sewing machine. So let's begin. Let's start drawing out all these rocks, and then I'll cut them all out and then start gluing them. So I've gone ahead and I've cut out 2 more versions of rocked prototype kind of one. So I think at this point in time, I am going to continue drawing out rock number 2 on here. And I think that's all I'm going to fit on this one sheet of foam. As I mentioned before, it's, yeah, it doesn't go a very long way when you're doing rocks of this size. Then what I'll do is I'll start a bit of a production line and I will start gluing these together. But let's grab bag 2 with rock number 2 and draw that out. So I'll catch up with you when I get to the gluing section. One thing just before I do get started on rock number 2 is that this foam is very easy to cut, which is really nice considering how dense it is and how strong it is, so that's good. And also I am using the Cos blade, and this is very comfortable to use, so very easy to navigate, very easy to cut with. I love this thing. Here is the first 7 rocks all cut out. That's the sheet of foam now gone. So yes, do need to go get some more. So that's rock 1, those are rock 2, and I got 1 rock 3 sorted. So now it's time to glue them all together. So I'm gonna put something down to protect my table, and we'll start. We'll just start. We're just gonna do this. It's not my area of expertise, but we're gonna whack it all together, and then it will be a process of filling in the gaps and sanding it down with a Dremel and just, you know, having fun with it, right? Right? That's cosplay, right? Cool. It's now about 4:30 in the afternoon, and I did have a break in the middle of the day because I had to go to an appointment, but here is the first 7 rocks glued together and have the filler inside of the gaps. The next step will be obviously let this all dry, do another kind of little coat of the filler, and then we'll get to sanding them down just to make sure that the sharp edges are kind of in line with each other, or at least, you know, it doesn't look so much like I've tried to attach foam here. So that is all gonna just stay there for the time being, but the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to grab my 5mm foam and I'm going to cut out the smallest ones. Now, the reason why I am doing the smaller rocks out of 5mm foam, and it's not this dense foam, it's actually just regular EVA foam, is just because I've got it. I don't have to wait until Thursday to get more of this foam, because Play by Proxy at the moment is only open Thursday nights, Friday nights, all day Saturday and all day Sunday, and it's currently Tuesday. And also because the way that I look at it, the small rocks will not have any kind of weight bearing on them. And what I mean by that is that it's very possible that these larger rocks will hit the floor, and I don't want them to break when hitting the floor, where the smaller ones are less likely to hit the floor, and there's just that they're much smaller kind of inside, so they don't have to be tough as such, because it's going to be mostly supported anyway by the amount of foam that's actually glued together. Good morning, so it's a couple of days later and I have got 2 weeks to get this done, because in 2 weeks time we are flying out to Singapore to have a bit of a holiday and to catch up with some friends from the US and potentially go to a convention. And then when we get back, we will be hosting some of those American friends before going to PAX. So really, I'm not gonna have time to be working on this then. So I need to get this done. Let me show you where I'm up to. So here we have 25 of the 33 rocks that I have decided to do. So I've got the biggest ones and the smallest ones. I ran out of the 7mm foam, so I went and got some more. So good times. But yes, so these are all ready to go for the dremeling, and just to kind of clean up the edges a little bit, I'll then do some more filler, and then I need to split them, and then we'll prime them, paint them, and all of that jazz, but that's coming later. For the time being, I do need to go ahead. Thanks for just deciding to pee out there. Look, thanks Taffeta. Thank you so much. So for the time being, what I need to do is I do need to go ahead and do the remaining 8, if my maths is correct. And depending if I've got some extra foam, I may make another one of the very large ones, which is that top one over there, very angular ones over there, just because I really like the shape of those, and I think a few more large rocks would probably go a long way. This is the last lot of rocks that I need to cut out, hopefully, unless I decide I need more. All right, 30 to 33, let's go.
Smooth. Kiralee is trying to set up her costuming.
There we are.
Hey look, she's an angel.
I'm an angel!
I reckon she's a fallen angel. Her wings are burnt.
So this is what we're thinking for the rock placement. I made too many rocks. I made like 8 extra rocks that we're not using.
Yeah, I just want to put this on camera. I told her. She ignores me. Her best friend tells her. She goes, oh, okay.
No, okay.
Best friend says, oh. And what Kiralee says now is a filthy, filthy lie.
Oh my God.
And all her patrons know.
I'm not letting you behind the camera ever again. So this is what I'm thinking.
I took your photo.
Terry has helped me with the layout. Half the rocks will obviously be on the other side. And then they'll be wedged between it. But this gives us a bit of an idea of how much we probably need on here. So
I'm a bad photographer.
Yay! Okay, cool.
I'm the best.
You are the best.
It's on camera now.
It is the next morning and it is time to discuss what happened last night. So as per the clip that you saw, we laid out all the rocks and frankly I made too many. So the ones that we've removed are, there's 2 lots of 3 because I made them in sets of 3 of each of the designs, and I removed the big ones that I felt the shape just wasn't quite right for rocks. So let me show you. So there's this one which I have nicknamed as the Drama Boys rock that was like slightly dented when he dropped it, because it looks like a little drum, like a kid's drum. And then there's this one which is like just essentially like a tent. It's my tent rock. So the other rocks are of more interesting shapes than these ones, so I decided to get rid of all 3 of each of these ones. And they are some of the bigger rocks. There's also this one that got eliminated. I've got 2 more of these on there and 1 of these ones. So there was only 1 small one that was eliminated from the process. And so with that, that means that there's 8 rocks that have been taken out of the 33. So that's 25 rocks that are still going to be on the apparatus, for lack of a better word. But it does mean that with the ones that have been taken out, I weighed them this morning, and that's 700 grams of weight that will not be on the tail, which brings down the total to about 900 grams, which is awesome because I did not consider the weight. Terry and my mate Shakoy also mentioned to me, have you considered the weight? And I was like, I have not. I'm like, it will be fine. And then I was like, actually it could split, and that would be unfortunate. So I think having less rocks, especially less of the heavier rocks, means that hopefully it will be all okay. It's going to be about 1 kilo, maybe with some weights on the ends of the front at the 2 sides, just to help balance the overall structure. I think that it's probably going to be, less than 1.5 kilos. I would say that it's probably going to be more like 1.1, 1.2, which is less than what I was originally intending. So yeah, hopefully it all works out, right? Anyway, today it's all about sanding more of the rocks. Look at all my rocks. So they have been dremeled down, cut in half, and then like about half of them have had little holes that have been drilled out of them, so that way they can fit through like over the top of the struts, the clear acrylic rods. So the next thing I've got to do today is I need to prime them with the Plasti Dip, and I'll probably do 2-ish coats of that. We'll just see, I'll play it by ear, somewhere between 2 and 4, but essentially going to do that, and then I need to start doing the base coat. Here we go. All of the rocks now have had Plasti Dip on them. They got 2 coats because I had 2 cans, and it was 1 can per coat as it turns out. So that's all I've got. So two coats is all they're getting. So the next thing I need to do is let this dry for about 4 hours, and then I will go over with the brown spray paint as the base color. I've got 2 cans there, so hopefully that will also be roughly about the same. It took all day, but now all of the rocks have been primed and have their base coat put on them. So all I need to do now is paint them up with the detailing, which is the fun part. So that will happen in 2 days time, when I next have my day off normal work. Woohoo! I've been painting for most of today, and this is where I'm up to. So obviously the base coat was there, but then I did a little bit of extra filler because there were still some gaps that I was unhappy with, and then I painted over the top of them. Sometimes, just sometimes, you have to do things out of order, but it still works out okay. So then I did a medium kind of like dry brushing over the top, which was very similar to the base coat that was already there, but it just gave it a little bit more like definition, just, you know, a bit of highlights and lowlights. And then I went through and I put on the dark dry brushing through it, so it gives them a bit more of a mottled effect. So the last thing I need to do, which I'm not doing tonight because it's quite late, I'll do it over the next night or 2, is I need to do the highlights. So the paint is just drying, but I have added the highlights, and then I did like a speckle effect over the top of all the rocks. And then what I did was that was very, very intense. So I went over with the medium tone again and just kind of splotched it over. And that gave a really cool kind of effect you can see on these rocks. It's still drying, as you can see, but it kind of toned it all down and gave them more of a rock texture. So yeah, they're looking good. I just need to like make sure the ones on the ends are kind of blended together where the rocks are gonna meet, and then I can spray them on Friday. Welcome to my garage. So I'm out here because frankly it is not great weather, so I am going to do the sealing of these rocks here. Let's go. Side note, my neighbors are out and I think that they think that I'm a proper weirdo, but hey, that's me. Ha 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 ha. Enjoy this spraying. Good morning and welcome to hopefully what will be the last day working on this prop. So I've gone ahead and I have put a stay stitch into the kind of top of the rods and attached them into the kind of base structure. The reason why I'm doing this rather than doing what I've been doing up until now, which is doing a safety pin and like closing off the top of the boning channel, is that I'm finding that it's causing too much pressure for the ends, and so I've had a few instances where the tulle has torn slightly and the bones have started poking out. So luckily I remembered that where I cut with such force the little clip part off, I can use that as a sewing hole and essentially attach it almost like a button. So I'm going to do that, and then that means that there's a whole lot less pressure on the ends of this structure, which is good. So the next thing I need to do is I've got these nuts that I'm going to sew one of each of these on the edges of the sides, and they're not very heavy. They're probably, I don't know, 100 grams, 200 grams each, but it will just give a little bit more weight to either side to help distribute the weight and make it easier to manipulate. Otherwise, what I will find is that it will probably kind of skew if and could all fall over. So a little bit of weight on the sides I think are going to help. So I'm going to sew those into position on the sides, and then there's going to be a rock that will go over the top of each of these so you won't see them. So good times. All right, I'm going to do that, and then it's going to be fishing wire and figuring out where that's going onto the structure, and then how long the pieces need to be so I can hold them in my hands, and then it's rocks, and then once the rocks are on, it's done. So that's exciting. Let's get cracking. All right, so I have just attached the fishing wire, and Terry, who's holding the camera, has been very cool, very wonderful and cool, and has helped me tie it all together. So now let's see what happens. Whoa, I'm getting stuck on something. There we go. So this is it. I'm manipulating it. I can move it forward, I can move it back, I can do different poses, have it going side to side, and yeah, it feels pretty secure. It's pretty cool. So what I need to do now is I need to glue the knots, cut off the extra string, and glue the knots on the base itself where the fishing wire is. So, woohoo! And then we can attach rocks. Terry, are you excited?
We.
All right, let's do it. This is such a small space.
Well, good thing you're short.
I am.
You won't hit the roof.
I know, it's a good thing I'm short. Finally, my shortness has come to fruition, and it has helped. Yay! Da 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 da! Look at it! So we've just finished gluing them on. I actually did get a bit of help from Terry because I needed to line them up perfectly, and it was impossible to do it by myself. So here we are. Look at it. Look at them. I love them. I'm gonna let that dry and, you know, hold out from the temptation to like pick it up, put it on right now. I'm gonna let that set for another hour. It's contact cement that I've used, and hopefully I can get some good shots of it shortly, in like an hour's time before the sun sets. But yay! Yay! So here is the finished look. Oh my goodness me, I have rocks that are floating around me. Definitely need to secure the rods because I can feel one already slipping down my back. Definitely need to secure them very, very tightly when we get to Melbourne. But overall, I'm super happy with how this is looking. It is interesting that the tulle has stretched because it's definitely going further down than what it was. And but the rocks are staying on. They're looking pretty good. We've already had one crash landing where I let it down and it banged, but the rocks held their shape. They're secure. I'm not going to do too many of those. Let's not do a whole lot of those. Let's not tempt fate, shall we? So yeah, overall, I'm really happy with this. It was a concept and I made it a reality. That in a nutshell is cosplay. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you want to create, you know, your own peacock tail, hopefully this gave you a bit of an idea. But yes, now I've got see-through peacock tail with rocks. Wah! I am earthbending. Wah! Give us a rock power and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!